The morning mist clung to the pine trees like whispered secrets, and Luna Hartwell breathed in the familiar scent of damp earth and wild roses. She stood at the edge of Moonhaven Pack territory, her bare feet planted firmly on the forest floor she had known since childhood. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. Today, she would finally hear the words she had dreamed of for years. Luna's heart hammered against her ribs as she smoothed down her simple white dress. The fabric was nothing fancy, just cotton from the local seamstress, but it was clean and pressed and made her feel worthy of standing before the pack. Her long auburn hair caught the early sunlight filtering through the canopy above, and she tucked a wayward strand behind her ear with trembling fingers. She had waited 23 years for this moment, 23 years of watching other wolves find their destined mates, of sitting alone at pack celebrations, of wondering if she was somehow broken or forgotten by the moon goddess herself. But Marcus had changed all that. Marcus Grayson, with his warm brown eyes and gentle smile, had courted her for 6 months. He brought her wildflowers and walked with her along the stream that bordered their territory. He held her hand during pack meetings and whispered sweet promises about their future together. The sound of footsteps on dried leaves made Luna's pulse quicken. She turned toward the approaching figure, expecting to see Marcus emerging from the tree line with that boyish grin that made her stomach flutter. Instead, she saw Thomas Brennan, the pack's beta, his usually cheerful face drawn tight with something that looked almost like pity. "Luna," Thomas said, his voice carefully neutral. "Marcus asked me to speak with you." The words hit her like a physical blow. Luna's smile faltered, and she wrapped her arms around her middle as if that could somehow hold her together. "He asked you to speak with me? On mating day?" Her voice came out smaller than she intended, barely more than a whisper carried away by the morning breeze. Thomas shifted his weight from one foot to the other, clearly uncomfortable with his task. "He's found his true mate, Luna. It happened last night during the full moon ceremony. Sarah Whitmore from the neighboring pack arrived unexpectedly, and when they saw each other, he trailed off, unable to finish the sentence that would shatter her world." Luna felt the forest spinning around her. The trees seemed to bend and sway, though there was no wind. Her knees threatened to buckle, but she forced herself to remain standing. "His true mate," she repeated, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. "But we had plans. We were going to be mated today. He said he loved me." "I'm sorry, Luna. You know how it is with true mates. There's no choice in the matter. The bond is instant and unbreakable." Thomas's words were meant to be comforting, but they only made the pain worse. Of course she knew about true mates. Every wolf child grew up hearing the stories. The legends of souls so perfectly matched that they could not resist each other even if they tried. Luna nodded slowly, not trusting her voice to remain steady. She had always known this was a possibility, had always feared it in the dark corners of her mind. But Marcus had been so convincing, so certain that what they had was real and lasting. He had made her believe that chosen love could be just as strong as fated love. "Where is he now?" she managed to ask. "With Alpha Cain. They're discussing the joining ceremony for Marcus and Sarah." Thomas hesitated, then added more gently, "Luna, you're still valued in this pack. This doesn't change that. You have a place here, a purpose." But Luna was no longer listening. The world around her had grown muffled and distant, like she was underwater. She turned away from Thomas and began walking deeper into the forest, away from the pack grounds, away from the life she had imagined for herself. She needed space to breathe, to think, to figure out how to piece herself back together. Behind her, she heard Thomas call her name, but she didn't stop. Her feet carried her along the familiar paths of her childhood, past the old oak tree where she used to climb and dream, past the clearing where she had first shifted into her wolf form at 16. Everything looked the same, but somehow felt different now, as if the rejection had changed not just her future but her entire past. Luna walked for what felt like hours, though the sun had barely moved across the sky. Eventually, she found herself at the base of Sentinel Rock, a massive granite outcropping that marked the highest point in their territory. She had always loved this place, loved how it made her feel small and significant at the same time. From up there, she could see for miles in every direction, could watch the world spread out below her like a living map. The climb was difficult in her dress and bare feet, but the physical challenge felt good after the emotional numbness of the morning. Her hands found purchase on familiar ledges, and her muscles remembered the way even though it had been months since her last visit. When she finally reached the top, she was breathing hard, and her dress was torn in several places. But she felt more like herself than she had since Thomas delivered his devastating news. From her perch on the rock, Luna could see the pack grounds in the distance. Smoke rose from cooking fires, and she could just make out tiny figures moving between the cabins and meeting halls. Somewhere down there, Marcus was planning his new life with Sarah Whitmore. Somewhere down there, the pack was moving on without her, as if her broken heart was just another passing storm. Luna pulled her knees to her chest and finally let the tears come. They fell hot and fast, soaking into the fabric of her white dress and leaving dark stains like bruises. She cried for the future she had lost, for the love that had never been as real as she believed, for the loneliness that stretched ahead of her like an endless winter. She cried until her throat was raw and her eyes were swollen, until the tears simply stopped coming and left her feeling hollow and scraped clean. The sun was directly overhead when she heard the sound of someone climbing the rock face below. Luna wiped her face with the back of her hand and tried to compose herself, though she knew she must look terrible. Probably Thomas had sent someone to check on her, to make sure she wasn't planning to do anything dramatic or foolish. But the figure that emerged over the edge of the rock was not who she expected. Alpha Cain. Blackthorn pulled himself up onto the granite surface with fluid grace, his powerful frame making the difficult climb look effortless. He was dressed simply in dark jeans and a black t-shirt, his thick dark hair slightly mussed from the wind. When his steel-gray eyes met hers, Luna felt a jolt of something she couldn't quite name, something that made her pulse quicken despite her emotional exhaustion. "I thought I might find you here," Cain said, his deep voice carrying easily across the space between them. He didn't approach immediately, instead remaining near the edge where he had climbed up, as if giving her space to decide whether she wanted his company. Luna stared at him, confusion cutting through her grief. In all her years in the pack, Alpha Cain had never sought her out for a private conversation. He was respected and somewhat feared, known for his fierce protection of the pack and his unwillingness to tolerate weakness or drama. She couldn't imagine why he was here now on what was supposed to be her mating day, looking at her with something that almost seemed like concern. "Alpha," she said, her voice still hoarse from crying. "I'm sorry if I've caused any trouble by leaving. I just needed some time to adjust to the situation." Cain moved closer then, his steps careful and deliberate on the uneven rock surface. When he sat down beside her, maintaining a respectful distance but close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body, Luna caught his scent. He smelled like cedar and storm clouds, like power and wild places. It was intoxicating in a way that made her feel guilty, considering her heart was supposed to be breaking over another man. "You haven't caused any trouble," Cain said quietly. "Thomas told me what happened with Marcus. I came to check on you. That's kind of you, but I'll be fine." Luna kept her eyes fixed on the view below, afraid that if she looked at him directly, she might start crying again. "I know that true mates are sacred. I understand that Marcus had no choice. Understanding something and accepting it are two different things," Cain replied. "It's natural to feel hurt, even angry. You invested time and emotion in a relationship that you believed was leading somewhere permanent." His matter-of-fact acknowledgement of her pain was somehow more comforting than all of Thomas's awkward attempts at consolation. Luna found herself relaxing slightly, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. "I keep thinking I should have known," she admitted. "Should have sensed that what we had wasn't enough." "Marcus cared for you," Cain said with certainty. "I could see it in how he looked at you, how he treated you. What you had was real, Luna. It just wasn't destined to be permanent." The use of her first name sent another unexpected jolt through her. Alpha Cain never used pack members' first names unless the situation was very serious or very personal. She finally turned to look at him fully, studying his strong profile as he gazed out over their territory. There was something different about his expression, something she had never seen before. It looked almost like longing. "May I ask you something, Alpha?" Luna said, her voice stronger now. "Cain," he corrected gently. "And yes." "Cain," she repeated, the name feeling strange and intimate on her tongue. "Why did you really come up here? You could have sent Thomas or any of the other pack members to check on me." For a long moment, Cain didn't answer. When he finally spoke, his words were so quiet that Luna had to lean closer to hear them. Because I know what it's like to lose someone you care about to a mate bond. Luna's breath caught. She had never heard any stories about Kane's romantic life, had never even seen him show interest in anyone. In her mind, he had always been somehow above such mortal concerns, focused entirely on leading and protecting the pack. The idea that he had experienced the same kind of heartbreak she was going through now seemed impossible. I was 25, Kane continued, still looking out at the horizon. Her name was Elena. We were together for 2 years and I was planning to propose. Then her true mate arrived from a pack in the north and she was gone within a week. I'm sorry, Luna said, meaning it. That must have been devastating. Kane nodded slowly. It was. But it also taught me something important about the nature of different kinds of love. What Elena and I had was real and meaningful, even though it wasn't destined. It helped me grow, made me a better leader and a better man. The same will be true for you and Marcus. Luna considered his words, feeling something shift inside her chest. The pain was still there, sharp and immediate. But Kane's perspective offered a different way of looking at her situation. Maybe her relationship with Marcus hadn't been a waste of time or a cruel joke played by fate. Maybe it had been exactly what it was supposed to be. A chapter in her story, not the entire book. What happened to Elena? Luna asked. She's happy, Kane said simply. She has 3 children now and leads the women's council in her new pack. We exchange letters sometimes, friendly updates about pack business. She's exactly where she belongs. Luna felt a surprising sense of relief at this information. The idea that love lost didn't have to mean lives ruined was somehow comforting. Maybe Marcus would be happy with Sarah. Maybe she herself would find a different kind of happiness, one she couldn't even imagine yet. They sat in comfortable silence for several minutes, watching clouds move across the sky and listening to the sounds of the forest below. Luna found herself stealing glances at Kane, noticing details she had never paid attention to before. The way his hair caught the sunlight, revealing hidden threads of silver at the temples, the strong line of his jaw and the small scar above his left eyebrow that she had always wondered about, but never dared ask. The way his hands, large and capable, rested easily on his knees as if he was completely comfortable in his own skin. I should probably head back soon, Luna said eventually, though she made no move to stand. I'm sure there are things I need to help with, pack business to catch up on. There's no rush, Kane replied. The pack can manage without us for a few more hours. Us. The word sent a warm flutter through Luna's stomach that she tried to ignore. She was being ridiculous, reading meaning into innocent words just because she was feeling vulnerable and Kane was being kind. He was her alpha, nothing more. The fact that he was breathtakingly handsome and had just revealed a depth of character she hadn't known existed was irrelevant. Can I ask you something else? Luna said, then continued without waiting for permission. Don't you want a mate? A Luna for the pack? Kane was quiet for so long that Luna began to worry she had overstepped. When he finally answered, his voice was thoughtful and measured. I've never met my true mate if I have one. And after what happened with Elena, I became very careful about getting involved with anyone. The pack has to come first, always. It wouldn't be fair to enter into a relationship that I might have to end suddenly. That sounds lonely, Luna said softly. Kane turned to look at her then, and something in his expression made her heart skip. It has been, he admitted. But loneliness is a small price to pay for the stability and safety of the pack. Luna found herself caught in his gaze, unable to look away. There was something happening between them, something electric and unexpected that had nothing to do with mate bonds or destiny, and everything to do with 2 people recognizing something precious in each other. She could feel it in the way the air seemed to shimmer between them, in the way her skin felt hypersensitive to his presence. Luna, Kane said, and her name on his lips sounded like a prayer. I need to tell you something. Her heart began to race, though she couldn't say exactly why. What is it? When I saw you this morning, when Thomas told me what had happened with Marcus, I felt something I hadn't expected to feel. Kane's voice was carefully controlled, but she could hear the emotion underneath. I felt angry. Not at Marcus, he had no choice in the matter. But angry at the situation, at the waste of it all. Luna's mouth went dry. What do you mean? I mean that Marcus is a fool, true mate or not, forever taking for granted what he had with you. Kane's eyes never left hers as he spoke. You are extraordinary, Luna. You're kind and strong and beautiful. and you deserve to be cherished by someone who sees all of that clearly." The words washed over Luna like warm honey, sweet and golden and healing. After hours of feeling rejected and unwanted, Kane's appreciation felt like a lifeline thrown to someone drowning. But more than that, it felt true in a way that Marcus's pretty words never quite had. "Kane," she whispered, not sure what she was trying to say. "I know this is complicated," he said quickly. "I know the timing is terrible, and I know I'm your alpha and there are protocols and expectations to consider. But I couldn't let you sit here believing that you weren't enough, that you weren't worthy of love, when nothing could be further from the truth." Luna felt tears prick her eyes again, but these were different from the ones she had shed earlier. These were tears of gratitude and wonder and something that might have been hope. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Kane reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. When she didn't, he cupped her face gently in his large, warm hands. "I'm saying that if you're willing, I'd like to court you properly. No assumptions, no rushing. Just the chance to show you how you should be treated. The chance to see if what I think is growing between us is real." Luna's breath caught in her throat. This morning she had been preparing to mate with one man, and now another, her alpha no less, was asking permission to court her. It should have felt overwhelming or wrong or too soon. Instead, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. "But what about your rules?" she asked. "About not getting involved because of pack responsibilities?" Kane's thumb brushed across her cheekbone, wiping away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. "I've spent 10 years putting duty before everything else," he said. "Maybe it's time I trusted the pack enough to believe they can handle their alpha being happy." Luna closed her eyes and leaned into his touch, letting herself really feel it for the first time. This wasn't the desperate clinging of someone trying to avoid being alone. This was recognition, the sense of something clicking into place that she had never even realized was missing. When she opened her eyes again, Kane was watching her with an expression of such tender hope that it made her chest ache in the best possible way. "Yes," she said simply. Kane's smile was like sunrise after a long night. "Yes? Yes, I'd like that very much." Luna felt a laugh bubble up in her chest, surprising them both. "Though I have to warn you, I'm probably going to need some time to figure out how I feel about everything that's happened today." "We have all the time in the world," Kane said, and leaned forward to press a soft kiss to her forehead. "There's no rush, no pressure, just possibility." As they sat together on the rock, Luna felt something she hadn't expected to feel again for a very long time. Excitement about the future. The morning had brought devastating rejection, but the afternoon had brought something she never could have anticipated. Maybe Marcus's betrayal hadn't been the end of her story after all. Maybe it had been exactly what needed to happen to clear the path for something better. The sun was beginning its descent toward the western mountains when they finally climbed down from Sentinel Rock together. Kane went first, making sure each handhold was secure before guiding Luna's feet to safe positions. His careful attention to her safety felt like a promise of the care he intended to show her in all things. When they reached the forest floor, Luna looked back up at the rock face they had just descended. "I'll always remember today," she said. "All of it. The pain and the possibility." Kane took her hand, intertwining their fingers in a gesture that felt both new and perfectly right. "Good and bad, it's all part of your story," he said. "And I'm hoping I get to be part of what comes next." As they walked back toward the pack grounds together, Luna found herself thinking about the strange turns life could take. This morning she had been one person, ready to settle into a comfortable but ultimately shallow relationship. Tonight she would go to sleep as someone entirely different, someone who had been claimed not by destiny or mate bonds, but by choice and recognition and the promise of deep, authentic love. The pack grounds came into view through the trees, and Luna could see the warm glow of lights beginning to twinkle in windows as families prepared for evening meals. Soon she would have to face Marcus and Sarah, would have to navigate the complex social dynamics of her changed situation, but with Kane's strong, warm hand wrapped around hers, she felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. After all, she had been rejected by her mate and claimed by her alpha all in the same day. If she could handle that, she could handle anything. The future stretched out before them, uncertain but full of promise, and Luna Hartwell had never been more ready to embrace whatever came next.